Hey there! Thanks for joining us here, Simply Worldbuilding. I'm an orphan.
And I'm the guy with a 4-year degree in delicately touching chicken nuggets.
Today we're going to be jumping into one of the other nations and fleshing that bad boy out a little bit. We were going to do the nation that is just to the East of Phyros.
I believe it is east, yeah.
Large empty grassland, roving tribes of nomadic people who have to live on the run from a ginormous horde of...
it's pronounced herd.
Herd?
Yeah.
Same. Same. Led by a leviathan.
Like buffalo or bull or
Yeah.
something. We haven't nailed down the exact design on it, but it's easy enough to picture. Big hairy thing with horns.
Yeah.
And probably hooves.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
no, it's got hands.
Yeah.
Just four.
Just 4 hands. Oh god. With hooves on the end.
Ew, of all the ugh.
Oh, jeez. But yeah, so that's the plan. We'll come up with an actual name for it, and I'll pull up the goals of sort of what to complete on our second pass. Is one, to actually name the place. That is huge.
Fine.
Allies and enemies of the nation. Economic status and development. Cultural norms and taboos. Leadership and government. And important history and current events, as well as just a general vibe check, and then we're going to do the flag. So, do you have anywhere that you would like to start? We could just start trying to shoot up the name. Hit me with that sweet name juice.
So, I'll be honest, I have not really considered much about names.
Okay.
The sort of overall, like, vibe or energy is, like, West Asian plains.
Yeah.
East Europe, West Asia plains, basically.
Yeah. I can't help but throw, like, a tiny bit of cowboy in there, either. Mostly just in, like, the, mostly in, less, like, the culture, but more, like, yeah, like, less, like, the Western American culture, but more, like, just, like, the cowboy or, like, the trying to wrangle herds and stuff like that. Like, that's just why it comes to mind for me.
Sure.
But nonetheless, yeah, that's kind of the influence that we'd be putting onto this place.
So, have you considered any names?
I did a little bit of our Google Translate method, and without, revealing too much and jumbling up the word a little bit, it came out as what I interpreted and changed up to be Czeshkazar.
Ooh, that's actually pretty dope.
I kind of
Czeshkazar?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
I would be interpreting the spelling as either Cheshgazar.
Cool. I didn't absorb any of that, but
I would probably want to play around with it and make the spelling a little stranger.
I really like the vibe of the name, though.
Yeah,
That's
it
good.
kind of rolls off the tongue, though.
Yeah.
Exactly. I thought so too. And I hadn't really. That was something I just kind of pinned down, but it did have a good feel to me. So
100%. Yeah, it's kind of hard to explain, but when you're coming up with a name, you want a feeling of it, like sort of a vibe to project, and that is pretty good.
Okay.
Like, I don't really have any pointers. I had a vibe that I wanted from it.
And it nailed it.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, good. Okay, so we can go with that then. If here's a lesson for you. If your gut says yes off the bat, it's probably fine. You can save yourself a lot of extra work when you think of an idea and you're like, that's a good idea. And I mean, I understand very well the need to be like, but no, let's really put it through the ringer and try and nail it down. But yeah, sometimes if it just works, it works. But okay, let's go with that. Czeshkazar.
Cool. Sounds good.
But okay, so let's jump into the actual sort of meat of the place then.
Absolutely.
Did you have any areas that you wanted to kind of begin?
All right. We pulled up the map so that we can actually double check what we're looking at.
Yeah. Actually, a little revision to the spelling there. I'm gonna go instead of CH at the beginning, I'm gonna do CZ, just because I think that's gonna be cool.
Yeah, that's how it was in my brain anyway. So
yeah.
Cool.
But okay, so yeah, it is indeed confirmed east of Phyros and sort of southeast of Yothrmir. But okay, so Czeshkazar, what's
one thing I wanted to actually clarify before we get into locations and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Is what do we call the people? Because I think a big thing about it is that it's sort of like, you know, maybe 5 to 20 different like groups of people that sort of roam around.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
like if there's an overarching thing, what are they going to be called?
Czeshkazarian is
Ooh. That's
right
pretty
there.
cool, but it is a mouthful.
It is a mouthful, but you know what? That's
okay,
the thing.
I like it, but what do you think? Because there's inevitably going to be slang by people who like aren't in that country but talk about it.
The Czeshkaz?
That's literally what I was about to say.
Yeah.
Not bad.
It's,
Czechkazarians and Czeshkas?
yeah.
Cool. I like it.
Yeah. Well, that's yeah. I mean, that's kind of cool to come down with a little bit of a slang term
Yeah.
off the bat. Not that, not that that's cool or anything.
Oh man. While we're at it,
Yeah.
Pherosian is right there.
Yeah.
What about Yothamir? Yoths.
Yeah.
These dang youths these days.
Oh my god.
Why did that make me think of the Yop commercial?
Oh no. Give me yoth, me mama. Yoth, me mama.
Canadians will know.
Yeah.
Is that a Canada thing?
I think so.
Oh my god.
Oh jeez, that makes it even weirder. Yothermites.
Yothermites?
Yeah. Yothermity thamth. Yeah, I don't really like the mites.
We can come back to it.
End of
Yeah.
It's probably my least favorite way to end like a type of people, just linguistically for like
Yeah.
me
Yeah,
personally, but it makes the most sense to me.
We can come back to
but
it
yeah,
because I forgot we actually never touched on that in the other places.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, well, there we go, just a little bit of a tidbit. But okay, so we've Czeshkazar, land of the Czeshkazarians.
Yes.
The Czeshkas.
So, I think one thing worth nailing down right away
Yeah.
is we have a couple of locations that I think are suitable to make more permanent
Like actual
fixtures,
locations, yeah.
than anywhere else.
Yeah.
Being that it's a enormous plain,
Mm-hmm.
you're not going to be right out in the middle of the open because that is asking to get trampled.
Yeah.
But there's a couple of locations on the map here
Mm-hmm.
where they have like more coverage from the sea, and so
Yeah.
there's only one direction they can come from.
Yeah.
And here's the thing about a charging stampede: they're better at going in a straight line than they are turning around. So
Yeah.
if you're in sort of like a back corner, they're not going to cram right into you nearly as easily as if you're out in the middle of the open.
Yeah, fair enough.
Do we want to have any solid locations? Because in my mind, there's not necessarily a huge benefit other than the elderly, people with disabilities, pregnant women, children. Like, they'll want somewhere to be other than riding horseback until you die.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily think that we need a place for government. I think that's kind of one of the quirks about this place is that, like, for the most part, it's going to be a very mobile lifestyle.
Yeah.
But I do think there needs to be at least one location, if not a few, that can be at least semi-permanent.
Yeah, well, we have a few X's on the map that we had
Yeah.
made for places that we want, and yeah, you had positioned them in
Yeah.
areas that you said like aren't likely to be trampled, other than the single central one, which I do feel like there's got to be something central just for pretty well for trade for the most part, and having some sort of central area where people are familiar to, or there's a halfway point between one side and the other.
100%.
So I think it's going to be a very important area.
What is stopping them from being trampled? Because like land formations and stuff like that is a good. It could be something like it's up on a mesa or plateau or something
Yeah.
like that. That's a little throwback for you. The real ones will know. It could be up on something like that. It could have giant ditches around it or something like that. Maybe only like one thin bridge, something like that.
I had named it Big Rock, and I think that's going to be basically the idea.
Cool. I fully read that as Og Rock.
Yeah.
So Prog Rock.
Yeah.
Again.
It's just too loud. The bulls don't like
Yeah.
it. But no, so that's basically it. Is I kind of, one of the reasons I pictured them like choose, because it seems very central, and just from the map, from a bird's eye view, it seems arbitrary. But what I pictured was basically just this gigantic boulder that kind of really provides cover for them. You know what I mean? And it also acts as like this really, really tall landmark, so that people from across the plains are like, it feels like that would naturally develop. You know what I mean?
I've
If
come
there
up with
was-
an idea.
Oh, I love ideas.
What if it's a big rock or multiple big rocks that is like semi-hollowed out because of wind and degradation and erosion and stuff like that. And so you're able to have like a good amount of civilization inside of this structure.
Interesting.
As well as bridges and things like that, so that like on different layers there can be also other structures and
So they've
living
kind of
and
built
stuff like
up a
that.
tiny bit?
Yeah, so, like-
Interesting idea.
let's say that you've got a handful of big rocks and there's these big old holes in it, a lot of decent space in the center but with like kind of smaller entrance points, and then like maybe on the inside there's a whole bunch of like scaffolding and stuff like that, and they're able to build up on that, as well as it kind of goes back around the outside, so there's actually like land and there could be like guard posts and stuff like that on this rock on different layers that are a little bit more flattened or hollowed out, but the outside is not actually accessible from the outside of the rock. You have to go like inside into the city and then up and then out,
Yeah.
because then it's pretty defensible.
Yeah, no kidding. It just feels a little bit like the Wind Dragon area as well.
Sure, you're right.
It feels like the same thing but different, but still same. But I do like that idea still in a way. I think I would just want it to be a
Okay.
little less reliant on the rock, like less climbing.
Yeah, what if we cut out the layers of it then, and we say there's a big old rock with space in the middle, and that's where people live?
I like that idea, and I still like the idea that maybe they do climb to the top, because just human brain be like, well, I want get on top of thing.
Climb big thing.
Yeah, but maybe on the very top, it's like a lookout post at the same time, and so like that also provides them with another advantage, that they can actually keep track of where the herd is on a very, very long distance. Because if you just have someone with what would be probably revolutionary technology of the telescope, up at the top there, like they wouldn't even have to be close enough to see the herd. They could see the dust cloud it creates and just infer. And so if it is approaching, they have the advantage of having like the most time to actually prepare or try and guide it.
Yeah, and I like the idea that maybe they also have multiple other rocks that they can like seal these gaps up with by, get the neighborhood, we're gonna put some ropes around the boulder and basically seal the gap so that like there's not even actually a way in anymore, kind of thing.
I did kind of like the idea when you said multiple, that there is this primary large one, but maybe there's a couple that are like maybe about half the size, and the city nests in between them.
100%, yeah.
And so they probably have just built up like walls with like just a handful of trees, like a very simple fence. Sturdy but simple. But so yeah, the any level of stampede is going to be mostly diverted by the rocks, and then there's just not going to be any room for the cattle or whatever to weave in between, just because there's the fence as well. Mostly going to be avoiding the rock, but the fence will also just make sure there's no in between.
Are you talking fence or like log wall?
Log wall. That's
what I thought.
That's more what I was picturing, yeah. And so, but yeah, so like there's the big rock that this place is kind of its namesake for. But yeah, there's probably a couple others as well that just provide protection in that sort of way. And I like the idea of this place. It, like if you were to label one as the capital city, that would probably be it. But I still don't picture it bigger than a couple of thousand people.
I agree. Yeah. And I think that for the most part, other than like some people who have chosen or been chosen to stay there to kind of protect it, that most of it is done by like seniors and stuff like that, or youths or pregnant women or whatever, because everybody else is kind of out gathering and hunting.
This is the closest thing to like a hospital you're going to find.
Yeah.
And I think people are going to, I think there'd be a lot, this would be a central trade area as well, which is kind of what makes people want to go there, is like, hey, this is the halfway point. I'm going to take my big bag of freaking apples to Big Rock, because it needs to go to the place that's on the very far side of the country. but I'm going to sell it to a merchant there, and he's going to bring it the rest of the way, which would make it so worth it for people.
Yeah.
And so it would make a lot of sense too. So it's like, this is the closest thing to like a hospital, hospice, or any area that anyone can kind of remain. Well, not the only thing, because we're going to have a few other little towns similar, but this is the biggest one.
Yeah.
And so it's the simplest place for you to bring someone to, for them to be cared for. But it's not just people who can't pull their own weight.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the trade also
Yeah.
means, hey, the father with the pregnant wife has the means to stay here as well. And so like there is reason for people to be there. And so I like that idea as a place. It's like, it's a good lookout point, it's well defensible, and it's like the one defensible place in the whole country.
I do also like the image though of like, you've got these oldies that are like, I can't stay on the road anymore or whatever.
Yeah, I'm too old for this shit.
But they're still such like, they're just hard asses.
Yeah.
And so they go here, and then now they're like, them and the hard ass pregnant women are like firing these ballistas at the the herd of giant creatures that go by. Because they're just like still so hardcore, but like, can't be on the road, it's dangerous for the baby, or whatever.
It's hard.
My back isn't so good, but I can still like...
Ever since I lost my leg.
Yeah.
It's just like, this is where we're at now.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I love that. I love that for an area.
Yeah.
And like, again, like they don't really refer to it as like a capital city or anything like that, because I feel like these sort of norms don't exist in this place, like capital city, government, etc., etc. It's really like if you're not pulling your weight in this place, we're going to kick you out.
Yeah.
Because I feel like since everyone is nomadic and exists in these small communities, like that sort of mentality is going to be there. And so in this area where like, it is a little bigger, it's still there despite the fact that not everyone's going to know each other perfectly. It's still just like the stampede is coming. If you are able, you're going to work and we're going to make you. So yeah, it really establishes a lot about the culture as well. So yeah, that's the main fixture. But we do have other X's. Do you want to nail those down now? Maybe
Not
one or two
not
other
specifically, I don't think. Basically, all of the rest of them are alongside somewhere where they have at least one protected edge. Like on small like peninsulas and stuff like that.
Right beside a river.
Yeah. Places where they have at least one edge protected. But that's the basics of it, and I don't necessarily think that we need to get into the other specific cities because of kind of, for the most part, how little that actually impacts the general culture.
Fair enough. No, totally good point.
Whereas a lot of places, that is a big thing, is the towns, the cities, the population centers, but most of the population is not in these centers here, so we can come back to them.
Yeah, definitely. We can nail those down a little bit later. Okay, so I guess on the top of the list, if we're going from there, is just allies and enemies, and I think we did kind of establish a little bit, because we did Yothrmir and we did Phyros, and if I remember correctly, like it was just pretty neutral, other than Phyros. Like we said, there's this general fear of Phyros as a superpower spilling over and taking land from other people as it grows, and I feel like this place is going to experience probably the worst of that because they don't have any level of military that specifically can create these borders and things like that.
I think that, like, despite some trade still coming from here, and that's a positive. There is. Like, you're right, they're sort of almost growing out of their old shoes and kind of constantly looking to push for new areas to settle and stuff like that. And they also, I think a big sentiment is it's a very like delicate balance of life here. And if you have these people who are coming in and not respecting the land, the traditions, the circle of life here, is that can get really thrown off. Like, say they start over hunting or something like that, and then 2 years later there haven't been enough like newborn animals to like sustain that herd. That herd is gone. And that sort of thing. Or like building these structures that prevent migratory paths and things like that.
Yeah, I just had an interesting idea on how disrupting that balance could actually lead into other things. But we'll go into that when we're in cultural norms and taboos. But just remind me I had one.
Yeah, so I think mostly negative, but not like violently so.
Yeah, it's just like,
just
oh man,
tense.
those Phyros city boys are just getting all up. They're getting all up in our biz, man. Like
I could see there being a few times where like they have pushed a little bit too far and they've plunked down a little like an outpost or something like that.
No, this was always here.
Yeah, and then having to be actually pushed back out.
Yeah,
like I can see there being some points of tension.
Yeah, and they may not have even been violently, but it was just like, hey, like the whole band got together.
Yeah.
And went over there and was like, guys, we know you just put this down, and our border is supposed to be here, so we need you to pack it up.
But imagine being like an Old West settlement of 45 cowboys, and you just put down like a couple of structures, and you're like, yeah, this looks mighty good, and then like this herd of like 2,500 like horseback soldiers rolls up, and they're like, nuh-uh.
Yeah.
Get out of here.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, okay. Back it up.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah, exactly. So there's going to be a lot of tension that way, definitely. But yeah, I think with... Okay, and everyone hates the swamp. Probably especially these guys, because they're...
It's pretty much, for the most part, the only actual like land path to leave the swamp is through here.
Yeah.
So pretty much anything that doesn't live and die in the swamp that tries to make it out... going through here.
Or dies in the mountains.
Yeah.
But yeah, exactly. So I think that is going to be a constant threat. That's probably something that they put a lot of effort into driving back and so this place is just constantly trying to uphold its traditions and borders from all sides, it seems. It really is like, they don't have the means to have like an organized army or anything like that, but everyone kind of comes together to try.
Everyone's on the same page about what's important, and so like something needs doing, anybody nearby will do it.
And yeah, so there's this constant thing with Phyros, and Phyros at the very least is like a civilization that can be negotiated with, but it's going to be 10 or so bands of orcs and goblins per year that kind of go through this place in conquest or start hunting on their land, because it's way easier and probably more plentiful, and so they have to there's this constant tension with them as well. But nonetheless, everyone hates the swamp, including these people, so that's an easy enough one. Phyros is kind of spilling into their land. Yothermere is going to be, I would say, just like total neutral.
I think pretty much total neutral. They have very, very little access, like unless you're going through these big ass mountains to really even get there, and then when they do, it's like well,
there's just no reason to fight. There's hardly any resources to conquer in this place. There's just no reason to kind of encroach, other than like in Phyros' case, it's just spilling over
space, and they're like, the land is farmable, and it's only 50 kilometers back to like my town or whatever, so like might as well just make a homestead out here. But it's not 50 kilometers back to Yothermere. So they're like, no point.
Yeah, exactly.
Unless you're starting your own micronation, like there's no point.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's like Yothermere's not lacking in land.
Yeah, exactly. They're actually, I think, the biggest.
Yeah, that would make a lot. Yeah, definitely. And so there's just nothing. There's just no possible reason I could think of for them to seriously clash.
Yeah.
So that pretty well remains. But there is also the Elven territory.
You're right. They actually do share a little border. Yeah.
There's a tiny bit of a border that is shared with them.
Yeah. I actually think probably that they would have a good relationship, because first off, I think they both kind of mind their own business.
Yeah, fair enough.
When they do have run-ins, I think that it would be positive, given that they both have kind of similar mindsets in like
respect
protecting
for the land. Yeah, fair enough. And well, the border also seems to stop at approximately where their forest ends as well, and so it's like it's pretty clear cut. Like, so yeah, you could say they probably it's probably a pretty good relationship in the fact that it's just like neutral plus one.
Exactly.
I mean? So that would make a lot of sense to me as well. And then obviously when it comes down to if you come over to the desert territory with the singular city, like there's really just not a lot of I don't think these guys are going to experience pirates. They probably don't even have a navy.
Yeah. Well,
Like, they
that's
probably
what I was
don't
gonna
have
say.
a navy
I
at all.
genuinely believe that they don't have navy. They probably care very little about fishing in any major way.
Yeah,
Like
it's-
personal fishing, sure,
Yeah.
or like small time to feed like a community. Like if you set up camp on the ocean, why
Mm-hmm.
not?
It's like a pirate might harass you because they can.
Yeah.
But like your gains, like they're not harassing you because you have goods that they
Yeah.
want to take. They're there to piss you
Yeah,
off,
they're
and it's
bored
like
or
and
something.
yeah, exactly. Like literally, it's like they're only gonna do that when they're bored.
Yeah.
And so, like you say, it's like, well, there's just like you're not gonna attack a small small fishing boat.
Yeah.
With your gigantic
Yeah.
gigantic pirate ship.
Yeah.
It just doesn't make any sense, and so
Yeah.
I see them not liking the pirates because
Sure.
because obviously, like
Yeah.
in the instances where you see that, you're like, oh well, this is trouble no matter what, because that's what they're there for. But other than that, like I just don't see them having a relationship.
I don't think they probably have a relationship with almost anybody on the other continent.
Yeah.
Because they don't care about seafaring.
Yeah, no kidding.
And anybody else, like other than maybe if they're on a long travel, although there's not much out in that direction anyway. But if you're nearby, you maybe are going to set up on the shore for an overnight camp. But like, I don't see that really bothering them all that much unless you're setting up.
Yeah.
Like,
For some reason,
Yeah.
I want them in the triplet cities to have something that kind of ties them together.
can you think of much?
I can't, but I want to. Like
Well-
it's just a feeling.
I can say though they do have a very distinct and noticeable, well known Leviathan. Large, in charge, everybody
Yeah.
can see it and know about it. So I can see some of the other like city-states or the triplet cities having an interest in that at the very least, like scientifically or like professionally speaking.
Maybe. Okay, so I think managing the herd and several herds of not only like regular cattle, but also there's the primary Leviathan that is going to be the well-known one. But I do think you're going to see sprouting up like other bighorned Leviathans as well that are very similar. So maybe it might be in their best interest to hire Leviathan hunters from across the country every maybe like every year there's a culling that kind of has to happen, otherwise the herds gain too much traction and get too large, and so maybe they'll hire people from over here.
I don't think they would hire them as much as allow people who come over with already an interest to sort of join them on the hunts.
That makes more sense. That's kind of what I was thinking, but I didn't have really a good way to put it. But no, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, because I think that, like, all things considered, they would probably be up to the challenge. Like, get maybe, another one or two of the tribes in the area to, like, hey, we got some business to get up to. And probably have a great deal of, like, pride as well as probably success in dealing with it themselves. But
They wouldn't mind an extra set of hands.
they don't mind the extra hands for professional hunters, professional warriors, and probably don't mind, sharing in the spoils, because I don't think they really have any interest in Leviathan artifacts or anything like that.
I mean, they might, though.
They might.
Like, it might be a thing where maybe...
At least some of them.
Yeah. Well, okay, so going into a little bit of the more North American Western, but, like,
For sure.
hanging, like, the bighorns on your car. No, I'm kidding. But, like, on the front of your porch or something like that. Like, maybe that's considered a status symbol.
sure.
Definitely status symbol. Maybe it's considered like good luck. Maybe they think it drives away the herd. That the herd's less likely to hit you. So I don't know. I could actually see a lot of their stakes being in actually claiming these for themselves. So I don't know. What do you think?
I think in this way of, like, using all of the beast, yes. But I also don't necessarily know, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't know if they'd have, like, the same level of interest in, like, using them to engineer new weapons and technologies.
New weapons and technologies? No.
Yeah.
Maybe using them as some sort of, like, again, status symbol or charm? Probably.
Yeah.
And we have established that, like, these Leviathans do have their own magical effects that can be unique and stuff like that. And so I could see them maybe using it for stuff like that, but to manufacture weapons of war like seems less likely. So I don't know, maybe it might just be a thing like some hunters are like, hey, you know, it's the season, you know, it's that season, boats on the way over there to Phyros, like why don't we stop in Phyros, travel over and see if there's any work to pick up. But I feel like maybe it doesn't stretch any further than that. Like
I agree.
It's pretty minor, and it's mostly just like bounty hunters for the most part, like going to see if they can claim a little bit.
Totally. I think less on like a governmental scale, like alliances or anything, and more on like entrepreneurial. People will come over and they're cool with that, basically.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. So yeah, that really handles allies / enemies. Economic status and development. These guys don't have a fucking economy.
No.
I mean, they do, but like there's
very little in the way of like global affecting economy. Like they're not going to have like the highest GDP or anything like that, because they're kind of, I think for a large portion of it, probably genuinely on the barter system.
Yeah.
Like I have, you know, 250 perfect condition like hides, but like I need another like 25 horses for my troop or whatever. And we're also running a little low on food. And so like they'll do trades and stuff, but I don't think like money is big. So I think economy.
Yeah. Would they have their own sanctioned currency? Because I can see it being mostly
bucks. Come on. Come on. Let's go. Yeah, I mean, I could see it. You know, something like, I mean, hell, maybe they even use like carved, almost like coins made out of like the bone of the horn or something.
I was gonna say like, well, how often have you said like, it's worth 20 bones? Yeah. Like that could be like a colloquial term, because that would actually be kind of cool. But also what prevents people from actually like straight up just making that stuff themselves? Like who makes it?
That's the beauty of it. Yeah. Like if you take down a beast, you've got money now. Yeah. If you carve them, you got money. It's all real.
Yeah, fair enough.
Same way as like you used to be able to just go out and get gold, and then now you have money.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, I guess there is sort of an inherent value. Maybe it's the smaller like Leviathan beasts specifically. So it's not just I got bull horns.
But I also don't know if there's a huge benefit to them having like a currency if they've got such a decent like trade system going on for barter.
I think, well, this is the thing, is I think the coins would mostly be, actually, what if, here's an idea, because like we said, like Big Rock is definitely going to be some sort of like the closest thing to an economic center. So what if it's just like Big Rock made its own currency?
Sure, yeah.
Like it as a city, but since it as a city has like kind of a level of city, again, 2,000 fucking people or so, it just started using a currency for like, okay, well, you work for me, but I'm not going to pay you in pelts. So, okay, well, I'll make up this little token that means you've worked this many hours for me, like, you know, a currency. But yeah, it's like it's only really recognized in Big Rock, but this is the thing, is everyone trades through Big Rock.
They're essentially promissory notes for X amount of whatever value.
Yeah, exactly. And so like, since like they were only really recognized in Big Rock, but as you know, like, I left Big Rock to go home and I still have these 5 coins.
It's like working for casino chips.
Yeah.
You can trade it in at the casino for real money.
Yeah, well, kind of. Yeah, exactly. Like it's a currency, but it's grown outside of its borders just enough where 95% of this entire country works on the barter system.
Yeah.
But there's a little bit of this currency that people seem to find valuable, or they don't. They're like, I don't go to Big Rock. Like, I can't use this. So, unfortunately, that's not going to work for me. But so they have like a very, very low level currency that people will use like 5% of the time, or like 30% of the time if they live in Big Rock.
Yeah, that's cool. I like that.
But yeah, so they straight up don't have anything to like actually trade with in other countries.
Yeah.
Other than goods. Like they're like, Phyros is like, hey, do you want gold? They're like, no.
What am I going to do with that?
Yeah, exactly. Give us like a freaking 50 bushels of
whatever.
Yeah. Like, and then we'll give you all these pelts, which
Yeah.
are high quality, and
Yeah.
you can't get them anywhere else.
And then also in terms of like development,
Yeah.
they don't have a whole lot in the way of like established like structures.
They are the most developing country
Yeah.
because there's lots of room for
They're
them
consistently developing and then undeveloping and going somewhere else and developing again.
to develop. Yeah, exactly. Like there's not much
So
going on
like
there. Yeah.
like structure and ability and stuff. Mm-hmm. Yes. Mm-hmm. They have a good system. Mm-hmm. Would I call it economically strong and physically developed? No.
Yeah.
But only because they're in a very different metric than the other ones.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, so in the grand scheme of it, quite low.
I'd like to think there are a few pirates with some big rock currency that they don't know what to do with.
Yeah. The hell are these?
I mean, they look kind of cool.
Yeah.
Okay,
They
so
bite it and it's a little dusty and it takes like teeth and they're like, oh.
they chip their tooth
yeah.
off. Oh god. Okay, that I really like that. That's
Yeah.
actually really unique and cool. Cultural norms and taboos. Mm-hmm. I had a thing, and I wanted to get to it, so I don't forget. So this specifically has to do with, well, it doesn't specifically have to do with, but is exacerbated by Phyros' kind of encroachment, and like you said, like especially like, oh, well, it's kind of a free hunting ground. Like if I make my way out here, is so you were saying like, oh, the overhunting of animals and herds so that the herds get too thin. So there is the herd. There is the gigantic
Yes,
herd.
that we're talking like
Thousands.
100,000 strong of mean-looking beasties.
Yeah.
Led by one that is like 5 stories tall.
Yeah, it's this gigantic
Yeah.
fucking bull or buffalo or
Yeah.
something like that.
Yak.
Yeah, exactly. Yak, exactly. But so maybe just how the maybe just how it works is like there are many herds. Obviously, there's the herd
Yeah.
that everyone refers to, but there are many herds. Some of them led by, like a developing leviathan creature. Some of them just by regular.
And some of them are regular animals.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and some by regular animals. Probably most by regular animals.
Yes,
but
yeah. Because we're talking there's probably thousands of herds.
Yeah.
And maybe like 5% of them are led by the magical kind of creature.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
then one is the herd.
Yeah, exactly. But this is the thing, is also like the herd is all of the types of like herd animals as well. Like everything just kind of amalgamates into this thing. It's like when you played Agario in
Yeah.
back in the day, and
Yeah.
you just that's literally it. It's just it walks around absorbing everything that's smaller than it. But so it could be this interesting sort of balance of if a herd gets hunted to too small to it can't rely on itself. It'll amalgamate with another herd.
Yeah.
And then that herd is bigger, but then, you hunt that one down. And then there's the times where you hunt it so far down that it can't rely on itself and it goes into the herd. And if you keep continuing to do that with all of them, eventually it's just going to be one.
Yeah.
And you're not going to be able to do anything about it because you can't, the herd does its job.
Yeah, it's not a reliable source of like, oh, we're hungry, let's just go pick off a couple from the pack.
Yeah.
It's like, it's
a force
not
of
worth
nature.
fighting.
Yeah.
It is worth running from. You could potentially kill a few, but you're probably going to wipe out your own entire like community to do it.
The risk
Not
to
worth
reward
it.
is not optimal. And so it could be a bit of a cultural taboo to overhunt certain herds. And again, this could be also partially why their sort of nomadic nature is part of a thing, because it's like, okay, well, the herds will move, but again, if you stick around one too long and you rely on it too much, it will disperse into other herds. And like I said, like a certain amount of the time, probably a larger amount of the time than others, it's going to be the herd that it goes into.
It's so easily identifiable from a distance too. They're like, I need more homies. Like, oh, what's that over there?
That's so many homies.
That's a lot of homies. Yeah.
So yeah, it could be, and like Phyros doesn't give a shit, and Phyros doesn't understand this, and so when there's probably guys who will go over there and hunt one or two, and I'm sure like they don't mind that, but when there's these guys kind of coming over there and like hunting it for sport, and they're overdoing it and stuff like that, and obviously causing this dispersal, that's a huge no-no that everyone who lives in this place seems to understand. But an outsider might not.
Yeah.
And so that probably would also create a lot of tension between Phyros' sort of land of plenty mentality with the sort of balance that it takes in Czeshkazar.
Yeah. So I think there's probably a lot of taboos, basically all to do with unethical consumption or whatever, like setting up your own settlement. That's a no-no, my guy, because not only does that interfere with the movement of these creatures, but it also puts you at risk and other people at risk.
Anything outside of like a large camp.
Yeah, and also if you stay in one area for too long, you're risking putting the local herds, at risk of becoming too thin and then dispersing and etc. So obviously, committing to a spot for too long is a no-no. I think that I think a lot of it is to do with respecting the tradition, and anything that goes against that is a significant faux pas.
Yeah, I feel like this place, it's gonna be again a funny sort of balance in the fact that these people I think are going to be pretty laid back. Well, I don't want to say laid back, they're going to be a very studious bunch. Yeah, but well, they don't care if you spit on the sidewalk. They you gotta go take a piss, I don't know, pick a bush or something like that. That's gonna be something that you don't see a lot of taboos for, but the way you run your troop and the way you interact with the land, tons of and I'm sure these rules are just something that's kind of I don't want to say unspoken, but so understood that they kind of don't even know it's it's such a thing.
You do something I don't know, you kick a mouse one time as a child, and it is so ingrained in your head how your parents made you feel about what you just did. Yeah, you'll never do it again.
Yeah, exactly. So I like to think that a lot of stuff that you might consider gross or whatever is just they're not an easily grossed out people. But again, there's things because there's the way things have to be here. Also, I think it's going to be pulling your weight.
For sure.
That is huge here. It only makes sense to me that again, it's you have these sort of small settlements that they've put down in advantageous places that work, and so everyone's kind of agreed okay, we can do this. But even the people who are kind of even the people who are in a bad position, again, you're old, injured, or not in a position to work, I feel you still work. You just work within your means.
100%. Yeah, there is no freeloading because if you can't keep up, if you can't keep up in general, they're not going to want you in the.
They're going to leave you somewhere. Yeah, in one of these places. Yeah.
If you can't do the work that your tribe or group or whatever needs you to do, then you go to basically Big Rock or
one of these other cities or something like that.
And there's a lot of stuff you can still do, if you can't necessarily put in the level of work required to stay in these mobile troops, but you're still expected to work there. Yeah. Because there's a small community that needs a lot of things to be moving, and probably is also not necessarily self-sufficient in the same way as other towns and cities might be. So you got to be earning your keep. If they're feeding you, you're doing something.
Yeah, exactly. So that's
and also I think that in general the culture of the people is to be doing things as well. So you've got pregnant women sawing wood and stuff like that, and that's just a normal thing. Yeah. But somebody who seeks to take advantage of other people's hard work,
that's gonna get snuffed out so quick. Yeah. And I feel these people just have they're gonna have a natural feel for that. They'll see through bullshit so quick for that exact reason. Just no one gives an inch. Yeah. But when everyone's on that same page, it's just how it works. Leadership in government, none.
Very little. I think
most of it's in the culture.
Yeah, 100%. I think that it's in the culture to be community driven so hard that you don't need one person to tell you what to do. Yeah. That being said, there's going to be people who are sort of in charge of your own roaming group, and there's probably going to be kind of almost a council in charge of each of the few
I feel it's more going to be a family. There's just going to be someone that everyone kind of respects. Yeah. And so they're forced into a leadership role in the fact that people respect them. Yeah. And so someone will be hoisted there, and it's just oh man, like your troop just rolls in and you're just ragged. You just escaped the herd, which just kind of went by, and they're like, man, we need some help. It's like, oh, okay, we'll go talk to Daryl. Like Daryl's the guy who will be like, okay, you go here. I'm gonna take you over to the hospital. Like the guy that everyone knows. That's probably just going to be something that exists, but he's not a titled figure. He's not the mayor.
And hey, if they start being a little shitty,
they're not in that position anymore.
Exactly.
So there probably will be people who are put into those positions, but only by the like it's not even voted. Like it's just such a simple, like everyone respects this guy, so everyone's going to send you to him. That's how it goes. And so like when it comes down to government, it really is just like
very little, very fluid. Like very unofficial. Totally.
So that's a pretty simple one to check off.
I'm in love with how unique and like simple yet like I don't know, sturdy this place is. Totally. I really like it. I like the vibe of this.
It's really cool. Important history and current events.
Well, I mean, I guess kind of like,
I feel like firstly, the staking of each of these is going to be an important event in the history of this place, because like you say, it's kind of a faux pas to actually settle someplace. And so it had to be instances where everyone was on the same page.
So I think it would actually be kind of interesting if like maybe each of the settlements actually only popped up because like they were at a good place during a bad time, like they're being barreled down upon and they hunkered into this place or whatever and survived, and they're like, this place just saved the lives of like 5,000 people. It's significant now.
Exactly. We need to, and there might even be like levels of like sort of religious significance to some of these places. Like I get the feeling like maybe a couple of one of these like coastal ones has some sort of significance that people maybe don't revisit for necessarily a practical reason, but there is some sort of event here that, or some person who died here or something like that people come to pay their respect to. But so I feel like the staking of each of these places is going to be how these exactly, because these are the places that everyone agreed, okay, we're going to break the rule for this. Current events, Phyros is encroaching. That's
ongoing battling on all fronts from all things. All that exists is the current events. We are living in the current events.
So I think though, when it comes down to again the herd, was there a point where it became a bigger problem?
I think that it's been kind of slowly growing over time.
It has, but is there a moment where it had like a surge and that was kind of a bad thing? You see what I mean? Like maybe there was maybe a natural disaster of some kind that just startled everything into one place or something like that. But
that's an interesting point.
There was a point where the herd was a pretty big deal, and now it is a huge deal. Like it got pushed over that edge, and now it's just like a compounding interest sort of thing.
I think that's an interesting idea. I think that kind of a lot of their also like rules and taboos were based off of things that had happened in the past. Like for a while there were some people that kept thinning these herds too much, and they kept joining, and they're like, oh yeah, that's actually a terrible idea. We need to stop that. I do like the idea though that like, because there is some forest, for instance, and so there could have easily been like a large forest fire from as simple as something like a lightning strike.
And it was like a grass fire. And it just,
and so like it just rips through the plains, it rips through the forest, and it drives so many of these creatures more central. And so it has the power to absorb more as well.
Interesting. The idea of like this large forest fire or grass fire that just kept going. It
could have been something like the Year of Fire or something like that, where it's like a constant moving like fire that like the grass grows back, and so it kind of circles around again and lights the same stuff on fire and stuff like that. And so like
it was just like a huge cataclysm,
huge like series of fires that kept these things colliding with the big herd that absorbs and amalgamates more.
I like that idea. We'll maybe come up with like a more proper order of events and like name for it, but I like that idea.
Yeah.
Vibe check. We're on the vibe check.
Vibe check. I think this is a place where you gotta expect to be dirty and to be sweaty and to be thirsty.
Yeah.
But overall, like, the love and compassion between people and community is bar none.
Yeah, no kidding.
I think that it's a cool place for hard people to do hard work. And it's got kind of the aesthetics of, like, Mongolia.
Yeah.
That's kind of my vibe on it.
Yeah, no, that checks out. That checks out pretty well. And so now we are on the flag.
The flag.
The flag.
It's an interesting point, because I'm actually not positive. I was thinking, I don't know, that they have a flag. I think that there should be something to represent them.
I feel like they would have a flag only in the fact that everyone told them they had to.
Yeah.
You see what I mean?
Yeah.
And as such, I feel like Big Rock's going to be on the flag.
That's an interesting point, yeah. I could kind of see almost like if I had to just immediately spitball it, I would say something like, you know those flags that are like rectangle and then like have the inverse triangle cut out of the end, so it's like two, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I could see that, one half being white, one half being green or something like that. I don't know if we're encroaching too much on Yothermere. And then a central.
I mean, every flag looks like the French flag, so I mean, there's not a lot of. It's fine if there's crossover colors wise.
That's just what comes to my immediate mind.
Hear me out, and this may be taking a little bit too much inspiration from our homeland up north here, but think of the Saskatchewan flag.
Sorry, Saskatchewan. I could use a brushing up.
Okay. Give me one moment. I'm going to learn him some flag. So yeah, thinking of the Saskatchewan flag, and I was also sort of thinking of the Nunavut flag as well. Saskatchewan colors-wise, like I like the yellow and green, I think.
Yeah.
But also the how Nunavut's flag has the central Inukshuk, but I was going to change that with like maybe a set of like big horns or something like that.
I was thinking big horns are
and then with like the divide in the center with maybe the yellow green.
Okay, I like yellow and green because I think for the same reason probably that Saskatchewan chose that is like the fields of grass and the fields of wheat. It's kind of just the colors of Saskatchewan.
Yeah.
And what if then like in the center it has like two big old horns with the big rock in the middle of those horns?
Yeah, I actually kind of picture like one big rock and one like kind of smaller rock.
Right.
Just because again we stated big rock is got a couple. And then maybe the horns underneath that kind of to represent the obvious.
That's
this
cool.
This is a land of herds.
That's cool. That's neat. I like it.
Yeah, and again, it's like they made that because someone made them make that. They're like, it was like a no country, no flag sort of or no flag, no country rather, sorry, sort of situation where they were like, well, we need something to represent you in just like politics if you're going to have all this land that I want. And so, I like to think that, it was probably something that happened at Big Rock, just again, because that's where like a lot of the trade happens and that's where a lot of also the gossip is going to happen. And so it's like, did you hear like they're trying to like get us to like declare ourselves a technical country or something like that? Okay, I guess. Well, if we're supposed to do that, like, everyone kind of gets together like, I don't know, what are the things? Like, what is that?
We got this.
We got this giant ass rock.
Animals. And we got grass.
What's your favorite color, Jennifer?
I like yellow.
Yeah. Okay. Let's go with yeah. Like
that was a good color. Yeah.
Like they threw it together, which is ironic because I really like the design of the flag. But
okay, let's toss in one more fun fact about them then.
Oh, okay.
I think things like sunflower grow wild across this.
Oh yeah, totally.
Well.
Yeah.
Like yellow flowers grow across the plains.
Interesting. Yeah. That could be a cool little thing as well.
Sunflowers. Fun fact. Are also a symbol for purity and stuff like that because they apparently actually absorb radiation, which is a big thing in and around like Chernobyl, as well as if you ever played Terraria, that's the reason why it stops corruption and crimson.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, another fun fact for you.
Yeah, another fun fact about sunflowers, they are not born of the sun.
Now you know.
Anyway,
I think we've wrapped this up with a pretty nice, neat little bow.
Yeah, no, I'm perfectly happy with this because
Yeah,
I
like
feel
you came
way
a long
better
way.
about this place than I did previously.
Cool.
Like it's I kind of want to spend a couple days here just to see
Yeah.
what it's like.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But okay, well that's a decent bit of content on our new country, Czeshkazar. Yeah, thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you in the end card. See
Bye
ya.
for now.
Hey there! Thanks for watching the video and welcome to the end card. So we have a few more comments that we're going to read off from. You guys have been commenting like crazy lately, and it's been really fun to keep up with. But first, what I want you to do is go down to the bottom of the video and like, comment, and subscribe. And if you comment, you might just make your way on board here. And you can also DM us on Instagram as well if you do want to also have the possibility of making it in here. So I have a comment here from Gene Bateman, 1997.
Good year.
It was a good year. I was there. Do what 3.5 did. If you spend a long time searching, you add 10 to your roll. If you spend a super long time searching, you add 20. So unless it's behind a really well hidden secret door, they will find it. Never played 3.5e, and I gotta say that's actually a really interesting way to do it.
Yeah.
I might even throw that in there, like just every once in a while. If it's like, okay, they have to enter the room, but they have to find the secret thing. But I really need them to find a secret thing because otherwise they're just going to be stunted.
Yeah.
It's kind of a good idea, and then if you guys just brush over it without thinking about it and just move on, like, okay, well, not a like, you know, I can't do anything about that. But it's like, okay, well, do you take a lot of time doing it? Yes. Okay, well, we'll add 10 to your roll. And just maybe choosing selective times to do that might be an interesting idea.
It's a good rule. There are some things about past editions that are solid.
Yeah.
I never played 3.5 either, but definitely there are some things that I've heard about from that that seem definitely worth bringing into forward editions. Absolutely.
Yeah, no kidding. And I've pretty well only played 5e, and I admit I am curious about previous editions and how they did things. I think it would be a good thing to learn. But thank you, Gene Bateman.
Yeah. I have one here. Let's see. So I've got one from Wandering Skull Kid. They say, this is in regards to us talking about werewolves. They said, put a silver plate on the floor at your door and make everyone take their shoes off in your house. You now know if any of your friends are a werewolf. I really like not only socially experimenting on your friends, but also the idea that, like, your one werewolf friend is like, man, can't we just hang out at my house?
Or even like getting
I don't like going to his house for no reason in particular.
Yeah. What if he like got like actually really pissed at you? He's like, dude, this isn't cool. Like this is really offensive. Like you're like, oh, I'm sorry, I'll take it off. And he's like, yes.
Another option to check if your friends are vampires: lead them to your house, but never actually imply or say that they can come in. Hey man, you want to see my place?
Yeah.
And just open the door, walk in. What are you waiting for? An invitation?
Yeah.
Yes.
You can come in, but only through the chimney, head first.
Nice. Or in bat form. Anyway, thanks for the comment, Skull Kid. Appreciate it.
That's funny.
I love that name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got one here from Mike Ford, 963. I'd say DMs are here to help you have fun, less make you have fun. There will always be sessions that are less fun. No, I will make you have fun. You're not allowed to get up from this table until you've eaten all your fun. I swear, there are kids in Africa having no fun at all right now. Thank you, Mike Ford.
Got another one from, my username is 1261. They say, interesting. So in theory, a werewolf... We're on the werewolf one again. Interesting. So in theory, could a werewolf be forced to partially turn by fixing a small amount of silver to them? I really like the idea that yes, putting any amount of silver on them will bring out the beast within.
Mm-hmm.
And so I made a little comment in there that I liked so much I'm going to say it again. The idea that like your BBEG could just like force a bunch of werewolves into constantly staying in their dangerous and less free-thinking form by putting silver ear tags on them like cattle or something like that. And then just keep them stuck in that form instead of ever having them be a human again and be like, I actually don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah. It could be kind of funny or interesting too if there's like it's only a tiny bit, so it just kind of makes them like more aggressive people. You know what I mean? Like there's like a kind of a halfway point where it's like, okay, well, it's not like stabbing, like not like a silver bullet where it's going into your body, but like it irritates your skin, so you're just irritable.
Off. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
It's just like when you're really hungry, they're just like, well, fuck off.
Yeah.
Like,
but then also the idea that as well, these people are now like kind of savable. Right? They don't have to necessarily be the enemy. If you can get that thing off of them, they might be a little bit better.
That would be such an interesting combat encounter if it's a whole bunch of people who are werewolves who you know are innocent people. And so you have the choice to take the easier option of just slaying them or the more difficult win condition of trying to like remove a tag off of them or something like that. Oh.
Yeah. Makes you think.
It does. It
He's
really
thinking
does.
right now.
That's a myth. I don't think at all. But anyway.
Thanks for the comment. That was, once again, my username is 1261.
But anyway, yeah, thanks for tuning into the video. And we had a lot of fun with this one. And it's been really cool to see people commenting. So keep it up. But thank you again. We'll chat at you in the next one.
Bye for now.